I went home and I just couldn't stop thinking about her.
When you're in country and you're sitting still and idle, that's a bad sign.
She no longer had a heartbeat. She wasn't breathing. That was the first one on the chest. I started compressions first.
Need advocates. We need people that are going to hold companies, government, hold these people accountable.
Welcome back to the Heroes Debrief. We want to take a moment to apologize for our scheduling delays. The September and beginning of October timeframe is probably the most hectic time period for Hero Services. So we are back on track with the Heroes Debrief, and we are going to wind up sending out content, trying to get back onto our regular schedule. My name's Jordan White. I'm the founder of Hero Services, bringing you the Heroes Debrief, and we're sitting down with Corey, which is a deputy chief with a local fire department, and we're going to wind up having an opportunity for him to tell his story. So, Corey, tell us a little bit about how you got into the fire department and how you grew up and that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity, Jordan. It's a pleasure to be here, to come out here, kind of tell your story, tell about things. And again, the services that Hero Services have and what they offer out there, participate in some of them. And I appreciate what your program has done, what they are doing, and what they continue to do in the future. So it's exciting to be here today and sit down here with you and just have some conversation on stuff. So that being said, history about me and where I'm at. The fire service is something that's been in the family for many years. It is started back, as far as I recall. Both my grandpas were in the fire service, as well as my dad, my brother-in-law, uncle. So it's something that's been in the family lineage for a long time. So as you grow up, it's a culture, it's an environment that I've been around, been a part of. So it is something that it's, not everybody has that opportunity and understands from the side of being in the fire service and growing up of what that's like, to as well as then being outside of the fire service and saying, hey, what is that world? What is that environment? What is it like?
Yeah. So that legacy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So fourth generation, is that right?
Grandpa, dad. So I'm your third generation.
Third generation.
Yep. Count that out. 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Yeah.
Numbers.
So third generation, not like knowing people that don't have that legacy. How it was like, what's the difference there?
So when you talk about that side of things, it equates to a lot of jobs with development of people who say, hey, I want to get into the fire service. And what is that background? What does that mean to them when they step into that, saying, yeah, I think I'll give it a try. I'll see what it is. To somebody whose family has been there and understanding a little bit more of what the job is going to require out of not just the individual participating, but from a family mindset. It really does, outside of the normal 9-to-5 job, it requires a lot more out of just the person of saying, yep, it's just a job. No, it does put a strain on your family. It does put a strain on that environment of what you live in. And it's one of those that you got to be able to know that whether it's, your wife, your kids, your parents, it's going to put a strain on your family and the different events that you participate in. Mm-hmm. Whether it be the career side of things, paid on call, volunteer, it is, like many, I guess, services you participate in with the community of that type of job, it is going to put a strain in. What does that mean? What is that legacy? When you are a legacy type individual, you have a little more of that understanding, to where somebody who hasn't participated in that and wants to step into that world, it can be a shock. It can be one of those hurdles to overcome to understand what that really truly means.
Culture shock.
It is culture shock. Absolutely.
We'll be talking a lot about culture today. So growing up, so it was always there.
Yeah. So a little background growing up. Grew up For terms of reference, I grew up here in the city of Wyoming, and again, the fire department that my family was a part of, it was a paid on call at that time fire department. Again, growing community. You're talking 50 years ago, and as they develop, as a young kid, you grew up, and we had a family business in the area, and the calls would come in, and of course you're right around the corner from the family business and the fire station there, and you'd watch the trucks go down the road. You'd run to the corner of the street, and you'd see Dad go by, and for the kid it was like, yeah, this was life. This is what you knew of saying, oh, cool, yeah, there goes Dad on fire truck, fire call, and then you'd go follow and like, hey, where are they going today? What's going on? Where's the fire in the community? And so that was part of what I grew up in, of understanding that was just the normal. That was, oh, yeah, it's a fire station. We'll go down to the fire station. Oh, we'll go down to the family business there, and we'll go hang out. And then it was fire station. And you go home. And that was the world that kind of evolved of what I understood and how the fire service worked. So as life progressed, of course, it turned into one of these, my dad and my brother both transitioned into being full-time firefighters for that department. And from there moved on. It was a goal of mine that, yes, I wanted to be a part of a fire department, but in the aspect of if I was going to join a department, I wanted to be all in. It wasn't one of these that I was just going to step off and just say, yeah, I'll dabble in it. I'll try it. Personality trait of mine is if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure that I'm dedicating myself to actually doing it and trying it. And as the dynamics of family life changed with the parents and the job and where it went, moved out of the area, as you get older, get down with high school, meet my wife. And of course, that's where we ended up settling down and find the community we're at. And it's like, okay, now let's put my hat in the court and let's do this. Let's make it happen. Let's join this world of the paid on call ranks.
So when you were growing up, like my dad spent a lot of time teaching me how to throw a football and become a football player and stuff like that. Like, do you feel like that your dad taught you how to be a firefighter? Like it was that part of the culture, or was it just kind of just living the life?
It was more living the life. I mean, I was generally the kid that would take stuff apart, right? I'd go down there, I'd push buttons, I'd pull things out. That is part of my personality of who I am. I'm going to tear something down, I'm going to put it back together. And I don't know if that's just partially what led into the other half of my world that I live, but yeah, it was one of those. Dad didn't necessarily say, oh, this is how this works and this is how this works, but it was a little bit of just understanding life and the culture of figuring things out, learning myself, learning how to learn, that type of stuff.
So when you wound up getting to the point of actually deciding that you were going to join the fire department, did you consciously choose to wind up becoming a paid on call firefighter or a full timer? Or was it just kind of like, I'm in this community, there's a fire department here, I'm going to wind up getting involved and then figure out the best way to do it after that?
There was a little of both of those. Mm-hmm. The dynamics of where life takes you, right? I meet my wife, and it's one of those, I'm a city kid, she's a country kid. Find a community that works for us that's partially city, partially out in the rural, outside of things, outside of the city. And that's where you end up with more of that rural district where it's going to be more of a paid on call type response area. And at that point, yes, I'd throw my hat in the ring multiple different times with varying different departments around the surrounding area to say, yeah, let's try it out, see if I want to do full time. But of course, when the world was happening in terms of the economy and whatnot, there were less firefighter jobs available, and the competition was up there. And for the sake of that, I also then invested my life into being an electrician. So when you talk about both worlds, yes, I became an electrician, master electrician, all the above. So now you got two dynamics. It's one of those, you're living one world as an electrician, and then you live in the other world as a firefighter. So when it came to then settling down in the community you wanted to be in, yeah, it was then at that point, what difference can I make in my own community? Be a part of something. You're now vested into a small area, because it kind of went back to the same part of when you grew up. You were vested into that community that you grew up in and that community feel that you had. That's really that culture that you gravitated towards. At least I did, in terms of that's what you're looking for and being a part of.
So what year did you?
So I joined the department in 2009. So I'm entering here, year number 15, somewhere in there.
And how old were you?
And at that time, good God, 2009, carry the 1 plus the 9. You're talking about 29 years old. So at that point, again, gone through the years of working. When you do an electrical apprenticeship process, everything that goes with that, usually ends up being a 4-year. Then you go for a journeyman. You got 6-year masters, all that stuff. So by that point, I'd gone to college, gotten married, all that stuff, settled down with a wife. And, that's that point where a lot of different dynamics in terms of where your life ends up and where things kind of settle out. And of course, that works out where I am now.
So starting out in the fire department, you were married.
Yep.
Right. But no kids.
Right? I had one kid.
Okay. Must have been real small.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was small.
Well, I say that because I know you, but yeah. So, okay. So,
and that was back to that same point. You got to make sure I'd say this, you got to make sure that's kind of you can't do it unless you're not. But it was one of those, I made it a priority that my family came first. My family still comes first every day. That I made sure they're okay before you jump into a world like this.
Right.
So that was that dynamic and an understanding. Now, again, I got a wife who's very accommodating, understands that the life of what I'm doing every day is complex and difficult, and schedules aren't always the same. I'm come and go oftentimes during the day, during the evening, and she understood that. My wife is a child of a state trooper, so she understands what it takes at times for the job of that type of public servant of what you do. So, yeah.
So you're getting into the fire department. What was your initial, I guess, training kind of like? So what did you have to do to want to become a firefighter?
So as far as prerequisites to getting into the fire service, there wasn't anything specific that I chased after and said, I have to do this or I have to do that. I came in, and you start out the fire service and you start with your normal, hey, you take your firefighter 1 and 2 curriculum, state class, and then it just parlays you there. As I kind of say, hey, you get done with that, and that gets you licensed to do, the bare bones, the basics, and it's stair stepped up from there. When you take that, you follow that with EMT course. All of that usually takes a couple of years to walk your way up and kind of cut your teeth and understand what it is, what the job takes, where you're going. Is this something you still want to stay with? Is this life still something you want to get up in the middle of the night, hit and miss? It's a world that's a little bit different than a lot of people understand, of saying, well, what do you mean? So you work a 40-hour week during the day? Yeah, that's so, during the week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Yes, I work a job, and then I get done with that, and whatever else duty calls, a pager goes off and makes a noise, and you go, yeah, see you later. Bye.
So let's explain that, because potentially some of the viewers that we have probably aren't overly familiar with the difference between paid on call firefighter and full time.
Yep.
And then they're also not fully aware in the smaller communities, like pretty much all of those firefighters are paid on call. So explain that whole process, just generally speaking.
So when you tend to get out to more of the rural district area, your emergency response is predicated off from the foundation of whether it's a volunteer department or paid on call of individuals that are willing to, again, wear a little box on their hip, phone, pager, whatever it might be. And if that goes off in some sort of manner, there's an expectation that a certain amount of people are going to respond to said emergency. That is not always something people are comfortable with doing. More likely in the past, it was one of those, if you had a smaller community, it's like, hey, all the businesses within there, you might have the business owners that would all, hey, yep, I can leave my job, I can go. But as the world transitions to say, can you leave your job during the day? Well, no, I can't leave my job. got customers. I got things I got to make. I got stuff I have to do. I can't just leave my job and go take care of this, that, and the other thing. But in the paid on call department world, that's a lot of what you end up with out in that outside skirt area. Who's got to cover what?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a crazy dynamic. Not everybody totally understands it. I think a lot of times some people just think that I just pick up the phone, I call 911 and magic. A truck shows up with people that are able to assess and take care of my situation and whatever that may be. And without the knowledge of knowing everything that goes on in the background to get you prepped to be able to deliver that type of service to the end of the day.
Yeah.
So for the viewers that that don't understand that, it is, in a long story short, you predicate it down to just that, and they go, oh, well, that doesn't seem like a big deal. What do you mean? What all goes into that? And the reality is that whether you are a full-time paid on call or volunteer type service department, that there's still a minimum training expectation level that you're supposed to obtain to, and to get to that point, the citizens are expecting that type of level of service is going to be showing up every time they pick up the phone and life is in their worst. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the dynamic is interesting in terms of where you then merge those worlds between the full-time staff department, and even then the full-time staff department, they'll be the first to admit that you get overtaxed quickly. So, we are all in a world right now living of just being, as I like to call it, the personnel dependent type situation. You're always short people. Everybody's looking to hire, don't have enough people who want to do things, don't have enough people that want to be there. And once you get that call of just saying, oh, hey, it's not just a small little medical that takes a couple people, it requires 5, 6, 8, 12, 26 people. Where are they coming from? Who's going to help you? Where are you going to find those people that want to volunteer their extra time and spend their time putting all that effort towards it?
We're going to take a moment to talk about our principal sponsors. Not only have these businesses assisted Hero Services with our fundraising events, but they have also provided assistance with supporting the Heroes Debrief. Window World, Bathworks, and Paul Davis continuously show support to Hero Services as we set out to recognize and provide resources to our veterans, first responders, and licensed healthcare professionals. And for guys like you, how long are you going to be on that scene, and then where are you going afterwards?
Correct.
Because I know you and I have ran calls.
Yep.
Where I've been pretty much where you're running the show on a fire scene, and I'm kind of sitting there just off to the corner. Yep. Good job, guys. But like, I've seen you wound up working 6-8 hours and then leave from there. I would assume probably go get cleaned up and go to your other job. Yep. Sometimes you're coming in late. Sometimes you're having to leave to get to work on time. We've been doing this job. I know a little bit about.
Yeah, there is that, very much that happens. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, that happens every single day, but it does happen enough that technology is kind of one of those that, hey, you're coming home from work, tones go off, you show up at the station, and what your expectation was to be home for dinner, to eat dinner with the kids and go to a concert at 6 o'clock, 5:30. And lo and behold, I don't walk in the door until 11:30 at night. And it's kind of like, well, that escalated quickly. Things went sideways. What the heck just happened? I don't know.
Wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, things went sideways quickly there. But essentially that does happen. And not to say that it's an expectation to happen all the time, but that is one of those that if you don't see that as being part of the job and the reality of what exists, life does get pretty hard to say that you want to step forth and do that. But that goes back to that whole, you need people. You need people who are wanting to vest themselves into that, the training, caring about their community, making a difference, because it's your neighbor, right? It's the person down the street. It's somebody your kid goes to school with. It's the the grandmother at church or whatever it might be, or that you run into, or at the grocery store. And it's a community aspect of take care of the people around you. I mean, that's just a community in general, not to say it's a small rural community, but that's just the community. Take care of people, take care of each other. And it's in a world nowadays, oftentimes you feel like it is getting pretty split up and people get angry with each other. And sometimes that's when you're at your worst, that's when you need the best.
Right.
So, but you are right. There are many days where, you go from one job to the next, you sneak in sleep where you can. And then when you get the quiet times, take advantage of the quiet times. That does happen.
Yeah. So how does that that whole lifestyle kind of affects like some of the other things outside of the fire department? In reference to you talked a little bit about like, sometimes you end up missing things with your kids and things with your wife or whatever.
Oh yes.
Talk a little bit about that a little bit more.
It takes a special group of individuals to understand that side of things. I can definitely say I feel like to a certain extent, at least the department we're at, the wives do take care of each other. I'll be the first to say that I've left my wife and kids at the grocery store and somebody else has came and picked them up and take them home because Lord knows when I'm going to catch up to them. And one of the other, department family, your wives picks them up and takes care of that. And there are times too where it's one of those, oh yeah, you're leaving again. I haven't seen you all week. And yeah, that is a strain on it. But the reality you have to go back to is you need to be intentional to take care of your family and kids, make it a priority, that they still are number one in your lives, because otherwise the job will take you over. There will be another call. The tones will go off again. And you have to understand that your time with your kids, with your wife, that's you're only going to be around so long. And then eventually your kids are going to grow up. They're going to move out. They're going to have kids of your own. And are you setting a culture of understanding, of prioritizing that they'll make their kids a priority in the future, that they'll make that decisions? It's kind of your kids. You give them the tools to make good decisions.
So you're saying that it kind of sounds like that the spouses of the firefighters kind of rely on each other.
Oh, very much. To a certain extent, we sometimes say you might believe that the spouses sometimes keep the fire department in order of just sense of direction of you'll get the phone call of, yeah, I got to go home. I got to go. Yeah. Wife's calling, kids are calling. I got to go. And it's one of those, we have to be, diligent to say, yeah, get out of here. Go take care of your wife. Go take care of your kids. In the same sense too, you build a family out of it to take care of each other. When there is a time of need or something you should take care of or help somebody else out, or whether it's even outside of your own department, by all means, if you have time or anything, go help each other out. If it's a firefighter from another department, first responder, whatever it might be, military member, we make that effort, help each other out. That's partially to the brotherhood as being part of the B-Side Fools group I'm part of as well, vice president with the Fools group. Again, it's the brotherhood. Take care of each other. We're all in the fight together, but again, you gotta have each other's back. It's part of the hero services as well.
So with that, I think something that's pertinent to talk about is like you're with your career path being a firefighter. And I would assume this is probably for the majority of firefighters, the family is all brought into that. And now you're having your wives, your kids, yourself, all a part of the fire department. So the fire department how many people are on your department?
So currently right now we're, somewhere around the 34, 33, I should know that number right offhand.
So realistically, you're dealing with about 100 people.
And that's exactly what we say. You're and it's probably more than that, of just saying, yes, you got 100 people that you got to care for. And when you talk about you're in charge of an incident, or the commander or the chief type role of whatever that might be, yes, that's what your concern is you got 30 heads that you got to get home every night, or you get 10, or you got to get 5. That it's not just these 5 right here. It's the
the
indirects
Yeah.
that are a part of that whole incident of saying, okay, this is extending out late. These individuals got to go to work the next morning. We need to find a way to get this to move along and get this team home, or what's our alternatives? And yeah, it gets to be a real strain. But in that same statement, it's also one of those that I ask is, you got to be transparent with me. You got to be honest. And when it is exhaustion and when you are having issues, that you need the firefighters to communicate that back, right?
Mhm.
You're only as strong as your weakest link. So when you talk about back to that family aspect of stuff, yes, you bring in firefighter, their orientation, we bring in the families. We talk to the families, we talk to the wives to make allow them to digest and understand that this is what they're going to get into. This is what your wife, your son, your daughter, whatever it might be. We had varying different forms of age groups, so on and so forth. Some come and go. That they understand that this is what we're looking at. This is what the training's going to be. This is how long it's going to take. This is the expectations. This is the dedication, so that they can make that decision from that night of orientation and go home and say, so do you still want to do this?
Mhm.
Is this something you're still in for? Are you sure? Because it is an investment, right? You're going to invest in them, as well as then the expectations of they're going to invest in the department as well. So that's kind of that. How do you get the family side of things to understand that? And you will have the difficult calls, you will have the difficult incidents, and you may see some changes in some people of just saying, hey, just be aware that there may be calls or incidents that will be a problem, that will create that anxiety, that depression, that frustration, and you're not by yourself. You're not on your own. We're here to help you. There's services to help you.
So how there's it's almost like you're leading the podcast yourself. With like some of those calls and stuff like that, like how does that affect the family dynamics, the culture at the station?
When you talk about those dynamics and those calls like that, as I talk to the crew, being in charge of training at a department, and I say just in terms of I'm in charge of a group of people that help out with training. Now, it's not just me dictating what goes on, but it also is get in, do your job as best you can, and get out. Don't take it home. Don't dwell on it. Don't sit there. But there will be things that will stick. There will absolutely be things that will stick with you. But if you do get in there, do your job, get out, and go home. So that it's the exposure side of things, right? If you have to sit there and stare at it over and over and over and over and over and over again, but yes, you get that burned into your mind. My reference I go back to is it's the black dot. I don't know where I heard it from or anything like that, but it's the permanent marker. It's the black dots that get burned into your brain. If I took that permanent marker and I said, yep, there's one there, and there's one there, and there's one there. It's the calls, it's the incidents, it's the life events, and it may not even be just a department that stick to your brain, that kind of shape of who you are and what you do on a daily basis. It's that permanent marker, and there's certain things that will trigger it, right? Whether it is just a PTSD type situation or something as you grew up that's such and such event happened, and now you've run a call that re-trigger that, whatever might happen on that.
Or even at a more substantial level, it significantly change your personality.
Correct.
Like you wound up dealing with these type of situations, so now your personality is getting molded into this, where it's not even so much like a singular event with a knee-jerk reaction, but it's also like a singular event that remolded you into a different person.
Yep.
It's that those black dots, as you say, are interesting because there's a lot of different repercussions from it.
There is. There very much is. And as much as you try and say, oh, I'm going to erase it, right? Dry erase board. Sorry, you can't. It's there. And then it's processing. How do you process it? How do you deal with it? And are we setting our team and our folks up for success of being able to process that? Do you have ways of processing it? Whatever that might be, in some sort of general way of just saying, hey, what's the team support behind it? What's your foundation of training to have behind that, so that if you haven't trained them for said event and they show up, it can be a tragic event that they're not trained, they're not capable of handling it, and you've now imprinted a black dot that's in a negative manner. Now, how do you transition those black dots to be positive reinforcement? No matter what you did good. You did good, kid. Everything's good. You did everything you're supposed to. Events leading up to said event wasn't you. I know it's painful. I know it sucks, but you did your job good, kid. Don't beat yourself up on this one.
Yeah.
Build some positive reinforcements. And it's not one of those that I'm going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly how to do that. By all means, there are professionals out there that are so much better. And that's the first thing I'll direct is, please go talk to somebody. I'm here to talk to. Pick up your phone, call me, anything like that. I don't care when. But it's also one of those that there are experts on being able to help you deal with these things and process that. And that goes back to the foundation of, are you showing that there are outlets for people to be able to deal with stuff?
I heard something interesting on another podcast I was listening to, that there seems to be an ongoing thought with the veteran and the first responder community where it's like, I'm only going to talk to my fellow veterans and first responders. Mm-hmm. And the show that I was listening to said something to the effect, the guy said, he's like, why would you do that to yourself? You're not going to ask a professional pilot to only talk amongst other professional. I'm getting this wrong, but the thing is like the therapists and the mental health advocates and the people that are trained are specifically trained. You're trained to be a firefighter. That's not anything to do with mental health. There is, but
and that goes back to you're hitting the nail on the head of my point of, I'll do my best to help you out with the training side of things so that you can handle the job within that scope of the box. But I'm not going to stand here and tell you I'm an expert on how you process things.
And I think that in our communities, I think that needs to be spoken more often.
It does.
Because even with myself, that was kind of getting slapped upside the head, where it was like, oh, there's actually some very valid thought there, So I don't know.
And in terms of the positive perspective of that is, do we have outlets to be able to send people to? I don't know. I don't know if we have the right answer or not. I think the fact that we bring it up as a conversation point is great. In where that goes in the future, I don't know either. But if we aren't acknowledging that it's happening and it's there, and at least, from the, hey, first level, acknowledging, they're just not doing great. They're just still dealing with this issue. Hey, let's sit on the bench for a little bit here. Let's shift it into neutral. Let's figure out what's going on, and see if we can direct you in the right direction to get some help and see what life's going to go. Because the dynamics goes back to this whole point of your family support. As I talk about family support, are you taking care of your family? From Paid on Call world, pretty much everybody there has another job that's going to put food on their table and a roof over their head. And everybody's there for a different reason. Their priorities of why they're there. And is what happened here, that black dot, going to affect everything else that they're doing in their life, that they can no longer put a roof over their head and food on their table? And if that's the case, you start running into, it's like, well, maybe this just needs to take a back seat. And the priority in life is to take care of yourself, take care of your family, get these things straightened out, get these things fixed, so that then you can come back and maybe this is what will work for you going forward.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of, in a long story short, that's it. When you talk about the black dots in that culture, the family, the family is where it starts from, right there for me. And not everybody coming in is going to be able to say that they have that support system in place. Those questions are asked. So, we make it intentional to ask questions during the process of saying, hey, What do you have for support when you encounter a stressful situation? What does that look like? So that you generally could say, oh, I don't know. I don't process stress. I get angry, whatever it might be, just to say, hey, what are some red flags that come up? Because when you expose people to it, you don't want to get the bad results out of it.
So at your department, it seems, at the very least at your department, seems like you guys are building up a pretty good culture internally with your department.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, culture, because I think I'm a big sports fan, and culture is ever changing. You get a different generation that comes in, and if you're always just saying, well, this is just who we are, this is who we are. Yes, I get that. When we tag that every day of the week, we wear the honor, the pride, the commitment to it. That is a culture we stand by. We wear it on our shirts. We wear it on our back. That's who we are. And we wear it with, that's who we are. You brand it. That's part of why we are who we are, and where we stick with. Now, it's also that point that as the culture in the world keeps changing, are you changing with it? Are you understanding what that truly means? You got a foundation, stay with your foundation, but there are certain parts of it, elements of it, that are constantly evolving and changing, with just as the world changes, and as the things in the world start to get different.
Mhm.
So, but that is, when you talk about our department, yeah, that's part of when I talk about your pride in your department, that's straight on the back. We bring people in, and it's a culture we bring in, that makes sure that we have people committed to taking care of the citizens. When you come in and you get asked the questions of saying, hey, how are you going to take care of the people in the community? I took the question from somebody else of saying, when we bring somebody in, ask the question, rank these 4 items in the priority of what's the most important, of being your safety, your crew's safety, citizen safety, and then your equipment. And what we default back to is we're looking for the aspect of saying that our biggest priority is our citizens' safety. Because if you do everything you're supposed to of training your crew, the equipment will be there with the community supports you, and knowing how to use your equipment, that you can make the citizens the priority and number one. This is why we're here, is for the citizens, for them. And you can translate that into the question is, who is the most important person in your life? And for most individuals, they may say, hey, my mom is, my grandma is, my brother, girlfriend, my kids are. Okay, so your kid has an incident, your grandma has an incident. What are you expecting to show up? Well, I want somebody who knows what they're doing. I want a crew that's going to be able to get my kid out of the house fire. I want to know that I'm getting the best. Exactly. So your biggest priority is your kid. If you show up and your kid's in there, you're going to run in there, aren't you? Well, yeah, probably. All right. And you better use that as the same mentality. If I don't care who's there, you're in your own community, take care of them. They're number one. Make that the priority every day when you come down. That's the commitment we try to instill from the beginning. So make sure your training's there, make sure your crew's there, take care of your equipment, know how to use your equipment, so that when you're called to do your best, you can give the citizens their best. So it's the term I use is we talked about too, is just do good things today so that tomorrow you can be great. Because that opportunity you get when you get that call of saying, hey, today's the day that we got a structure fire and you got to make entry and you got to get that person out. Can you be great? Because you got one shot. You got one shot to get it right. Make it that one shot. I'm a big sports guy, and it's the same thing. Can you come off the bench? Can you hit the home run? Can you pinch hit, come in there? Can you hit the jump shot at the buzzer? Can you catch the football in the end zone? When you need to do it, if you didn't train yourself on a daily basis to get better and improve, you got to be able to at least give yourself a shot and achieve that to your greatest ability at that point. Now, again, everybody's ability varies. Your best may not be my best to somebody else's. It's all varying on skills, abilities, and everything like that. But put the effort in. By all means, please put the effort, put the time in, put that culture of yeah, we're going to train. We're going to train. We're going to train. We're going to train. Sets and reps. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again as much as you can. Like, it's very hard. And the paid on call world, golly, it's hard. How many reps are you going to get? Oh, I can only get 5 days because I got to go home, man. I got to go home and see my family. I haven't seen them all day. That's tough.
Do you think that that's a standard mentality for the majority of the departments?
It's exhausting. I'll reserve to be very cautious to say I don't know, because I'm not in those doors of every other department.
Mhm.
And everybody has their reasons for being there and what they're a part of their own community. If I can help in any sort of way to help that other community out, a different department, again, I've gone throughout the state with training, instructing some different areas. I've gone up to the UP, was training some courses up there, and you want to talk about a group of individuals that they loved having anybody come up to the Upper Peninsula to help them train, because they just don't get instruction up there on how to do things in the fire service. So extremely thankful community up there. So when you ask that same question saying, well, do you think they train the most? You don't know what you don't know.
Mhm. Yeah,
To their knowledge and skill and ability, they're giving their best that they can.
the one thing that I've been saying with the Hero Services for a while now is that we're going to do the best that we can do with the amount of resources that we have accessible to.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And I think truly most of the fire departments that I've interacted with, which I mean, it's the northern half of the county.
Yeah.
You know, that all of them are different, but I do think that all of them are doing their best with the amount of resources that they have available. And unfortunately, some of those resources are limited.
Right. And that inevitably becomes a challenge for a lot of departments out there is, hey, we don't have as good of turnout gear. We don't have the most elite SCBA or their hoses or whatever it might be. But did you put the effort in? Are you putting the time in? Are you looking to get your own skills improved?
And the expectation from the community.
And the expectation. That's always a varying degree, because
well, going off from what you were saying earlier, like the community thinks I have an emergency. I want the most best equipped, highly trained, rock stars coming out of the biggest city fire department showing up. And it's like, that's the intention. We're doing our best here.
We're doing our best. And that's why it just, everybody's best is different, right? That level of service. There is that adage of, you get out to a rural community and you come from the city and say, well, yeah, they're going to show up with 5 different engines and 3 ladders and blah, 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 and all this other stuff in a big city. And the reality in the rural community is you may get a house fire and you get 1 truck with 2 guys or 1 guy, and the next crew is 30 minutes out. Oh boy. Hey, there's people in there. Oh boy. But in that same adage, it's one of those, it's hard to say it, but the community wants that rural side of where they live. And to give them that expectation that they're going to get the same service of a big city, that's very hard. That's very hard. And, but the resources are limited as well. If you said, well, yeah, but if you want that services, it's going to cost a lot more during the year. Well, I don't want to pay that. I get you. I fully understand that. But again, back to limited staffing. What can you do with the time you got with the staffing you have available?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you just show up and go, well, we're not going to win this one. So I guess I'm just going to sit in the truck and sip on my coffee and just see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to think if there's ever been an instance where I've seen a rural fire department show up on scene just kind of like, no, we don't have a chance, so we're not even going to bother.
So that's the back to that same thing.
After 10 years of me doing, being on the EMS side of things, running with you guys, everybody gives it their all.
Correct.
Even if there's only 2 guys on scene.
Correct.
Because I've been on those scenes before, and it is a mess. I mean, it's not clean, but the dedication is there.
It is
for sure.
And that's what you go back to, just that the time and culture. And and that's where I ask from a training side of thing, can we get more? Can you do better? Because you don't want to get to the end and play armchair quarterback going, boy, I wish I had pulled the hose line off the truck a couple more times because that was a mess. That just didn't go well. Well, I get it. And it's tough because your level of when you get on scene, right? You're amped up. There is just a million things going on. Your heart is racing. And of course you miss things. Did you get your mask all the way on? Did you get your hood on? Did you get buckled up? Are you ready to actually go and fight fire? Did you get prepped and wear all your PPEs? Ah, crap.
Mhm.
So let's do the good things, the basics right to allow us to do things above and beyond that. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of that culture you try and establish and build that foundation. I fully understand from smaller department, and same thing. One of the things I always bring up, and this is just even in my normal job day to day, is I ask people, what do you want to do in 5 years? Where do you want to see yourself? What do we want to do from here, so that we can help develop your skill set to get you on from here? And you get some of the new individuals, oh, I don't know. Or you get some people, it's always comical. They come in and say, oh, yeah, I want to be a chief in 5 years. Do you? Really? Because that's always, but it's perspective. It's perspective of what they come in and what their understanding of what the job and the skill set is. Now, if it's one of those that, yeah, you want to know what gets there, well, let's get you there. Let's start you on the foundation of a career to project you to get to that point of being an officer. Or you're just going to say, they don't have a chance. They're never going to get there. Well, if they have ambition of achieving more, well, let's arm them for it. Let's give them the talents. Let's give them the ability. So when you come in, it's one of those, well, let's start with 5 years. Give me 5 good years. Tell you what, let's make it 5 great years, and we'll see what we get from there. And from there, it's one of those, at the very least, we'll at least get you into a career that can be very rewarding. We can build a good foundation of experience where we're at, and you never know where that's going to take you.
So 5 years, it's funny that you wound up bringing up that 5 years in the first response world is a very long time.
That's exactly what we always say. It's when you get to 5 years, you have usually 2 different roads you get down, because at 5 years, you get a lot of individuals that kind of have achieved that level of a lot of the requirements of whether it be state classes they may take, or they may be looking at possibly, hey, is there ever an officer position available? What does that look like? A company officer role? Is that something I want to do or not? Or dynamics of the family change and they walk away. So, and for a lot of people, they want to see rewards right away. Well, that's too long. I don't want to wait that long.
Mhm.
And it gets to be very hard. I want a ribbon today. I ran a good call. Can I get one today?
Mhm.
Okay, good job. Well
High
done.
five.
Yeah, high five. Are they in it for the long haul? For individuals to get to that 10-year mark, right? Now you're talking about 10 years as a legacy guy, 15, 25. That's a large ask and a huge dynamic, especially in a paid on call world. 25 years as paid on call.
I think in the first response world.
Just in general, because the burnout factor, you can talk to that in terms of just the riding the bus there. It's just the burnout is there, the job, right? I go back to that constant. There's another call, right? Oh, guess what? There's another one.
Mhm.
Hey, we got a break. Nope. Here's another one. And you got to be able to step up to the plate, and every time. And that mental resolve gets worn down, gets beat up. Absolutely gets beat up.
That 5 year window is such an interesting time frame, because that's also about the time period where your first responders are really starting to get their feet underneath themselves, because the training is training. We've all been through training.
Yep.
It shows you 20% of what you need to know.
Yep.
Like, you have to wound up getting through the experiences to actually learn how to become a medic, learn how to become a firefighter. You need that exposure. And I think you need 5 years worth of exposure to really know, like 3 to 5 years to know what to be confident in what you're doing.
It's unique that you say that because having done, now being an electrician and knowing that the majority of that job of being an apprentice electrician is on the job, real world training, right? The state to become a licensed journeyman electrician requires you to spend 8,000 hours training as an apprentice. That's a lot of field experience. That's a lot of time spent doing the job.
Mhm.
And now you say the same thing for the fire department as saying, you got to be able to get real world experience. Well, 8,000 hours that's 4 years. You get 4 years with taking minimal breaks to get experience to say you're competent at doing that. So in the first responder world where, if you're paid on call, you may not get all the calls. You may not get all the experience.
Even as a full-time paramedic, it takes a while for you to end up getting. I mean, I know for a fact, like even with myself, I was taught things in school that I didn't see out in the field for years.
Mm-hmm.
And, when it happens, you're expected to know this protocol, expected to know this policy. And how big is that book?
It's one of those, it's like, and that's where I go back to that same world of, the unique aspect of being an electrician and the firefighter. It's like, hey, what's the electrician built off? Oh, it's the NFPA. Oh, cool. What's the fire service built? The NFPA. Oh, cool. All right. Well, how thick are the books? Dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. That's cool. And then here's some more policies, and here in the medical field, here's some more protocols. Now, again, you got to have the rules, right? You got to have the guidelines. You got to have the procedures and the basis to give you a playground to play in, things to work in. But what you got to regurgitate over that time period is crazy. It is
in a short amount of time.
And as you said, there's oftentimes in training that you'll go through, whether it be fire school or your EMT school, basic class, and you get out and go, I don't know that I'm ever going to see that. And then 9 years down the road, you ran into it and go, oh, dear God. Yep, that's right. That does still exist.
Yeah.
And far more often, if in doubt, call the fire department. They'll figure it out. That's the tagline of what it is, right? Oh, they'll figure it out. That does happen. And now the unique nature of a paid on call world is sometimes you get those extra talents when you have people who have different skill sets outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
That is a culture and a talent that is invaluable. I mean, you just can't always get that in an apartment that's staffed full time, because if you're there all the time and that's your job and it's your core, and it's relative. Whereas for a lot of us, you may get the electrician, you get the builder, a plumber, whatever, the varying different skill sets of what you understand, but that's part of what makes that community side of things of making your department be successful.
Yeah.
You have talents, but you're finding ways to use those abstract talents outside of just what you trained in fire school.
Mm-hmm.
Because even those talents just mean as much as just, hey, you're great with patient care and talking to people. Well, but that's because you're a counselor and you understand that being able to talk to people, that's a big deal, and having that. Or, hey, I'm having issues with wiring in my house. Well, I can give you a recommendation what you should do, and here's things, because you got some knowledge and experience to draw back to and help a family out and saying, yep, you're going to do this and then call this and then do this, and then that'll be able to correct the problem you have in your house. Oh, wow, that's great. That's fantastic. I didn't realize that. Have a good day. Thank you. So,
how does that relate to just the 911 system as a whole? So, when you wound up getting a call,
mm-hmm.
you're having your paid on call firefighters wound up showing up to the scene. A lot of times, who else is there? And some of those,
it's very interesting. With our 911 system and how it works and the dynamics of, we have all the technology now and linking things together, but yet oftentimes too can be the most complex thing, because there is technology of the attempt to link things all together.
And sometimes the three entities between, the first response world getting into...
I'll go beyond just the three entities, because now you start saying, well, what do you mean the three entities of just whether it's your EMS world, your fire, your police services. Well, what about if
You
you're
got
calling consumers
dispatch.
energy? What if you're
Yeah.
dispatch? What about the wrecker service? What about you keep going down that line and going, oh, okay, well, who's going to remediate the hazmat site? Who's going to call for? And all of a sudden you realize you're like, I'm carrying around a book of a lot of people I got to take care of and a lot of connections that
How well does all that link together?
it's difficult. It is very difficult and a lot of things to juggle at times of understanding who you call and how do you train people to do that? Well, who am I supposed to call this? And if you don't have a muscle memory and a default to go back to,
Yeah.
then for some individuals, it can be very difficult. Scenes can be challenging because, well, I don't know, who do I call? Ghostbusters? Well, they don't exist. So try again.
That muscle memory, getting back to the 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it takes that amount of time.
It takes that amount of time to develop that side of saying, have you seen the call? Have you been on that? Do you take the opportunities to take individuals along, to train them to teach them, hey, when you may encounter a call like this is how you may handle it. Do you have the after action report? Do you sit down? Do you talk to the individuals? And it's very tough. That is part of, are you setting a legacy of transitioning on and be able to hand off here? I'm not going to be here forever. And while I'm here, I'm going to give you everything I got with the toolbox I got that you can move on to and be great in your own world. That's part of the foundation of just be able to hand it off to the next generation. Because I don't know that the kids are always getting all of that stuff. And for some individuals, it's that whole, well, I want to hang on to it because if I give it out, somebody's going to take my job or I'm not going to be needed anymore. Insecurity portions of it. But then it's also the whole, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm done with it. I don't want to talk about it. The kid drives me nuts. I don't want to deal with that wingnut anymore. There's many different sides of, I can guarantee you there are times when I was younger that more than often than not, either the journeyman I'm learning from as an electrician or as a young firefighter, they're like, good God, this kid is just stop. And it's the same thing. You realize it going, he's me.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right. We're sweet.
I don't know. I don't think I was ever like that. Not me. I want to take a moment to end up talking about the Hero Services Relief Fund and the reason why Hero Services is continuously do fundraise as well as launch this podcast. In the event that this podcast winds up getting monetized, all of the funding will retain into Hero Services and help supplement the Hero Services Relief Fund and the Hero Services Wellness Program. The Hero Services Relief Fund is available to veterans, first responders, and licensed healthcare professionals, and it is a general monetary fund that can assist them with financial emergencies, anything from home repairs to car repairs to getting them catch up on bills. And you can find this information on our website, which we will have listed in the show notes, and you can make donations or request assistance through those websites. So tell me more about B-Side Fools. What are they doing?
Okay, so the Fools group, in terms of the Fraternal Order of Leatherhead Society, that's what the Fool stands for. And people will say, well, B-Side, what does B-Side stand for? Well, as I go back to is pull out your little Michigan map you got, and for the fire department, you go the A side, the B side, Charlie side, Delta side. B side of the state, that's where we are, the West Michigan chapter over here, the B side of the state. And that's...
Explain what you're referring to, because not all the viewers are going to know what you mean about like why firefighters use A side, B side, C side.
So for firefighters, it sometimes can be directionally challenged individuals. So you give a side of the structure a designation so that when I'm talking about a specific side of the building, you know where you're going. It's that whole incident command system of saying, hey, what side are you on? Hey, I'm on the Bravo side. Oh, that side. Okay. I know where I'm going now. Okay, good.
Got it. Good.
I got it. Simple, but from the Fools chapter, that's why we say we're the B-side Fools. We're the Bravo side of the state Fools group. Like a lot of other groups, the Fools chapters are all throughout the entire nation. I've visited some of the other ones, whether it's gone down to FDIC or around the state, some of the chapters, some of the events they've had. A lot of fun. Brotherhood, takes care of each other. We have sponsored some trainings in the area here, whether they've been some speakers we brought in, as well as just even some trainings we've had of meeting at a department, some live trainings, search and rescue types of things that we get together as a group, support each other. We'll meet 3, 4, 5 times a year. And any type of event that, hey, if somebody's struggling, we'll support them as well. It's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood that comes together and make sure you take care of each other. Yes, you talk about it within the 4 walls of your building or your department or where you're at. But this is a collection of West Michigan people. And it is interesting as much as it is therapeutic as well to talk to individuals that are outside of your 4 walls, of their dynamics, of what you think you're dealing with. They have issues as well too. And it allows you to talk some things out, and as well as learn some stuff. You learn a lot of other things from other departments and people, and share some camaraderie amongst the other stuff. And yeah, it's
with the fire department. I would say out of the entities of the first response world, as expansive as the fire department is throughout the state and the nation and the local areas or whatever, it reminds me a lot of the military.
It is. I mean, we literally say that paramilitary type organization.
Because the thing is like you guys, when I was active duty, like I knew that all my shipmates had the same basic knowledge coming out of boot camp and stuff like that. But once you wound up getting sectioned off into specific jobs, which would be specific areas for the fire departments, there's starting to be all these different nuances where, you have your basic foundation, camaraderie, all of that stuff, but you're also in a specified set group. And I equate that to the fire service and your specific departments, where I would imagine with B-side Fools, like what you're saying is like you're all the same guys, but you have different perspectives.
Absolutely. And you got the same dynamic there with individuals with different talents. It is pretty awesome to see just what the dynamics of what other individuals will bring into your group. And
in West Michigan, you got the coast.
Yep.
Right. I mean, they have a different skill set than what you have where you're at.
Yeah, because now you also have the individuals that you may be from a full-time staff department to a smaller volunteer department, or whatever different aspect of the fire service they're serving in, that creates that different dynamic of I brought stuff back to our department that you realize and learn outside there, going, never really thought about that. Absolutely. Well, let's bring that home and let's institute a part of that or a system of that, and how that might work for our department, because not everybody's the same. It's that dynamic of your community and the needs you got that really allow you to say, hey, let's expand your world, right? Expand the horizon, understand what else is out there. Because to think that we're doing everything right, ever changing. Culture is ever changing. Things are always ever changing. And are you looking to always change, or is it just one of those that, no, this is who we are. This is what we do all the time. We don't need to learn that. We don't need to understand that.
Yeah.
The second you stop learning is the second you're getting behind. And of course, probably the same thing you might feel, Jordan, with your age, is the older you get, the more you realize you don't know. It's one of those, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. It's a tough dynamic of, I got to keep learning. I got to keep listening. And you sometimes realize man, I missed a lot when I was younger. I did not pay attention in school. Doggone it. And sometimes as you get older, you realize, well, yeah, I guess now I got to prepare a paper and a presentation, don't I? Yep.
How do I turn the computer off?
Yeah. Just how do I turn the phone off? Because I don't want to listen to this anymore. There are that side of things that make a challenge too. But that is one of those, over time, I've learned more about myself, learned how I learn that dynamic. When I was younger, you didn't grasp all that stuff. You didn't understand that side of things of how you learn. And I really do enjoy that side of the Fools group of getting that other dynamic. And same part is, I hope I can bestow that information or knowledge upon others that they can take it to their department. You don't understand oftentimes the ripple effect you may have on individuals outside of there, and you just make a difference. Make a difference for somebody else's life. The job doesn't need to be that hard. We make it very hard. We make it challenging. Let's make this easier.
I have very little experience in the fire department. I have some, but I can say from an EMS perspective, it kind of seems like we create a lot of our own problems. And I would say that the fire department and potentially the law enforcement and stuff like that, sometimes it feels like we're shooting ourselves in the own foot.
But you do. You absolutely do. And sometimes you ask that question going, why? And now there's extenuating circumstances, dynamics that are all part of it. Is it because of the stakeholders, the municipality you're in, the individuals that have, they're representing your taxpayers, your tax base, and they have their own dog in the fight that you go, why? What is this? But, perspective. I don't know. I don't know where they're coming from, but yet in the same thing, you're absolutely right. I'm sure there's a lot of times you'd say, well, there's some medics that at one point I used to work with, and man, it would have been great if they told me some of this. But in the same way I say that with firefighters, are going, well, I wish somebody would have told me this, because that would have made this job a hell of a lot easier. Today, this kind of sucks.
But it's in the protocol book.
But it's in the protocol. You should know better by now, right? That's right. The abstract, indirect items that they just don't get covered in the protocol. And it's those items that somebody could just tell me, help me out, man. The job's not easy. But yet, in the same sense, it can be easy. Let's not make this difficult.
So is the B-Side Fools got anything pertinent coming up?
At this point, we don't have anything. We have some irons in the fire of looking to get some trainings out there. But otherwise, if anybody wants to join the Fools group, by all means, look us up, B-Side Fools on Facebook.
Has to be a firefighter, right?
Has to be firefighter, fire service there. So check us out. Look it up on the Facebook.
We can get your links from you and put that in the comment.
Yep. If you'd like to join the group, by all means, please do. Get out there. I find it very rewarding. Been with the Fools group. Oh, I don't remember. Again, I'm terrible with dates. I think everybody kind of feels like that COVID ruined time frame of what's when now. I don't remember. You could say it's 3 years ago, and I'll say that feels like 10 years ago. But yeah, so I've been on the Fools pretty much since the B-Side Fools, the inception of them starting, and that's over a decade ago now. So we put out a new challenge going that was a decade old going. So yeah, and by all means, I'm wearing the shirt, 9/11 shirt as well. So
I feel like you need to give me one of those challenge coins.
Yeah, I'll get you one. We'll brand it.
What, you got anything you want to pass along to newer generations coming into the fire service or first response world?
This is what I say after every individual fire department starts out. The chief down there, he knows it's coming, and I ask, and the biggest thing I say to the new people in the emergency field in general, patience. Have patience. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening twice as much as you're talking. There are a lot of people out there that have a lot of good information. There's books to read. Find a way to open a book up. I hate reading just as much as the next person, but doggone it, you got to find a way to crack a book. Crack a book and learn. Learn to learn. You got to figure out how you're going to learn, because everybody's different. But have patience. It can be a absolutely very, very rewarding career that you get into. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're going to get rich in it, whether you're in a paid on call world, full time, riding the ambulance. By all means, it can be very rewarding. Don't let it beat you up, but have patience, because everybody wants that immediate gratification. Got to have it now.
It's going to take 5 years.
It takes time, and it takes time to really, make something great, and have that patience of being willing to grind, put the time in. And It's interesting that I've had some new individuals that go, oh, well, I've gotten done with fire school. I feel like I know a lot of stuff. And then I start asking questions and I challenge them. And they're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, man. Yeah. And, to be that mentor to those individuals of keep them, hey, refocus it, bring it back, take your time. You'll get there. Don't wish your career away. Before you know it, it's gone. Take that time and be patient. Be patient, learn.
Yeah.
Be willing to listen to individuals. There's a lot of stuff that comes out there. Again, I'll say there's a challenge of understanding what's the good info, what's the bad info. But a mentorship, find somebody to lean on, have somebody in the EMS field, police in general, have somebody that you can talk to that to mentor you through the process. Ask the questions. And that's where I go back to. You got questions, ask me. I'll talk to you about it. I'll even tell you I don't know. I don't mind saying I don't know, and let's learn together. Let's go figure it out. Sometimes that's the biggest fun of just, even you ask the questions is just saying, hey, do you know anything about this? I don't know. Let's ask the Googs. Let's go find out. We got the internet nowadays that tells us a lot of stuff, can really, figure things out. But yet it's one of those exciting facets of just saying, let's go train together. Let's go figure it out. Let's get better at it. Because it keeps changing, keeps evolving. You got so much science now, technology. But back to that whole patience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where's my new helmet? Oh, where's my gear? Patience. It's coming. It takes some time.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what I say to individuals that are starting out in that world of just take the time. And again, in my world where I stick with, where I'm speaking more towards the paid on call world, don't forget about your family. Because that's where that patience comes through. Because if you want to hurry and try and do everything in the field and you leave your family behind, take care of your family. They're going to be your support, and that's what's going to pick you up when the times get tough. Because you'll get 6 months into EMT school and go, my God, this is just
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
It's a lot. So. And then you transition that challenge of saying, okay, now I need you to turn that switch off and we're going to learn about the fire service now. So everything you learned, put it on the shelf. Don't let it get dusty. And I need you to dig in this book on the fire service and learn everything on the fire service and things to go with that. And then when we get done with that, we'll test you on that. And oh, by the way, I need everything that you learn in EMT. I need you to be twice as good as what you learned when you started. What?
Yeah.
But in the same sense, it's just patience. Just you don't eat it all at once. Just walk yourself through that process. You'll get there.
What do you got to say to the public, to the community about fire service?
That's an interesting dynamic. Back to that whole, does the community truly know what your job is? And what effort and time gets put into it. The only way the community is going to know is you got to be in the community. Get yourself out at events.
Mm-hmm.
Participate. It's exhausting. I'll be the first to tell you that it's exhausting to participate in all the events. But you know what? That's also, I'll say, is some of my most rewarding times in the fire service is participating in those events, the pub ed events, getting out to the schools, seeing the kids, getting them through, our safety trailer, whatever that might be. It is exciting times where the kids see you as a hero. Be the hero. Step up to it. Don't be afraid of it. They're kids. Have that ability. I love it. And the same thing is you get out in the community so that when you need something from the community, they see you. They know they can relate it to it. You got 5 minutes. Can you demonstrate that ability in the community of saying, the fire department's pretty awesome. I like it when they come out. They're good people. They do good things. They take care of us. Don't just be the lights and siren that go down the road every once in a while. And then they just say, oh, their trucks cost a lot of money. No, the trucks are there for them. They bought the equipment for it. Show it off. Let them see it. Let them understand why it's there. If you go into a house and they got a carbon monoxide and the kids are there, take the kids out, show the truck off by all means. Let them see it, let them climb through it, let them understand that it's not something to be scared of. Be out in the community, be available, be nice. My gosh, you shouldn't have to say that, but by all means, be nice to people. That's just a standard protocol of just be nice. But that's when you talk about to that community, that is part of it. The statement can always be made that if for every good thing you do, you get about 7 clicks on the internet. For every bad thing that happens, you may get 50, 60 bad clicks about it. So doggone it, how many good things do you got to do to equal that one bad thing you do? So it takes a lot of effort and sweat equity that gets put into it, volunteer time.
So earlier you wound up mentioning something about investment. Now you just said that equity. So you're investing all this time and energy into the fire service and stuff like that. Typically, that means you're going to get compensated.
Yep.
So what is that compensation for you?
So for us in our environment, there's a couple different ways. Yes, there's a monetary compensation for that, right? For effort you put into. That's always part of it as well. But it's
probably not as much as the public thinks.
And it really isn't. The reality of it is, by all means, it's not much for where we are. Yeah, we do okay. We're do all right. And it's not that I'm here to politic and say, oh, the firefighters should get paid more for everything they do. Of course, everybody should be deserved pay for what they do and the effort and the time they put in. That is very much so of you're asking individuals that aren't getting paid overtime to go do a job to make, a minimal amount of money to put their lives at risk or participate in the community. But it is that, borderline aspect of, you're going to volunteer your time. It's part of giving back to the community, give back to your neighbor. If you got the time and ability and the talents, why wouldn't I? The good Lord has blessed me for what I have on the daily basis. I'll give back where I can. It's one of those, use your talents. You realize what talent you got. Don't let them go to waste. Give back to the community.
Yeah, we've had, we've only had a few episodes, but our first guest, there was a conversation that was had where it was, I do this job because I feel like that I should type mentality. And I think that whether a lot of the first responders are cognitive of that or not, I think that is always somewhere ingrained in them, is that I can do this, especially for guys like at our age bracket, where it's like, I can do this. I know that I've been able to do this. I'm going to keep doing it because I should. And, not so much who else, but there's a limited select people that can wind up making it as far into the service as what you and I have.
Yep.
So that's an interesting concept. So
yeah, that it really is a dynamic of the time and effort that gets asked, and I hate to say required to get out in the community, because you'd like to know that you have a community program that's going to set up to just deliver that fire safety side of things, right? It's October here, October Fire Safety Month. That's a big part of what we talk about with our department. It's Fire Safety Month. Are you getting in there? Are you getting into the classrooms? Are you taking kids to understand of how to get out of their house, how to set a safety plan, what that means? Have them come down to the department. We have, again, ambulance services that are out there, police departments. So you have that community. Host them, have them come in, see your building, see your 4 walls, see what their investment into the community of saying, where do my taxes go? What do these dollars go towards? How are they making a difference? And as you go back to, you never know what you may set in stone for that child to go in the future. Future firefighter right there, future policeman, future EMT. I don't know. But, open that world to the kids, an opportunity. If you aren't branding it and getting yourself out there, we're at a service where we're all desperate for personnel. We're short people. You're personnel deficient on a daily basis. I don't care where you are. It's everybody's hiring and you're short personnel. Well, let's get ourselves out there, brand it as a job and an opportunity where you can make a career of it. If we can be a platform and a stepping stone for getting people into something different, absolutely. Let's get that. Let's get those kids, a platform where they can be more successful in their careers. So, but again, where do you start? Where do you get in the community? Where's that make a difference? So and the varying forms of, is it just as small as, oh yes, we just get out these couple times a year? No, community events, any community event you can adapt yourself and be a part of, or even just, the smoke detector programs that they have. Are you getting out into these houses? Are you seeing them? Because more often than not, we do end up at individuals' houses that are more likely to have issues where they may not have the smoke detectors. Do you look at that side of things, or do you just go in there and say, yep, I treated the patient. Yep, we helped load them in the ambulance. Cool, great, grand, we're out of here. Well, did you take that chance to look at the perspective of the lives they're in? Are there smoke detectors in the house? Do they work? Are they in that position to be able to afford them? Do they not? You may even find that some of the bigger houses you get to, they don't understand that they got to check their smoke detectors often. How old are they? You have houses that may now end up being 15, 20 years old, 30 years old. Hey, you ever change your smoke detectors? No, I've never even thought about it. But it's just one of those, that one moment can change that life for the person down the road. You never really realize that. Again, goes back to that ripple effect. So just when you say to that part of the community is, yeah, be a difference. That's a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to be a burden to you. I don't want to call the fire department and have another call and have an issue. And as I go back to, it's one of those, we should be available in the community for that. That's why we're here. We're a service for the community. If that's what they're asking for, provide that service and provide that service to the best of your abilities. So.
You got anything else?
Oh, there's always a bucket full of stuff. I mean, you start unwrapping it, and that's one of those that people say. The wife says, "Oh, we always end up being the last ones to leave. How come we're always the last ones to leave?" Well, that's part of me of just who I am. If you start talking to somebody, and it's a company. Take care of each other. I don't know. It just ends up being one of those that depends where you want to go with things. Shiny squirrels, whatever shiny squirrels will take me, and we'll talk about something else.
I think we're good there.
Okay.
I think we'll wrap it up. I think that was a pretty good episode. So